Hey y'all, this is Kim with Creative Escapades. I'm going to be working on embellishing this painting that I did for the New Year's Eve paint party with Christina and Alan Welsh. And I'm going to use the Easy Sculpt Resin and Hardener to make a sea turtle. So you take equal parts of the A and the B and you just smash them together until they're fully incorporated. You'll know because if it's not completely mixed together, it will be streaky. So I drew a sea turtle onto parchment paper, and I'm just using the Easy Sculpt resin and putting it onto each part of the sea turtle, and then I took my X-Acto knife to put the details on just the surface, not cutting all the way through. And I'm sorry I forgot to film when I popped him off of the parchment paper, but using Easy Sculpt on parchment paper, it comes right up when it's cured, so you don't have any problems peeling it off. So giving the turtle its color now and the design, and the more that I worked on him, the more he took on a little personality all his own, and I started calling him Herbert. So here is Herbert, finished and ready to go to his new home. I love how the colors blended together, and his little face is so cute. And so here he is. I'm going to put him on there. He's going to look cute on that. I'm going to put resin down on this and using different colors. This one right here is just resin, Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's a beautiful green, blue. And this right here is Resin Heart Luster Pigment. And the instructions are to take your pigment powder and mix it with some alcohol. They say 99% alcohol. I have not been able to find that, so I'm using 91%. And the reason why you use the highest you can get is so there's very, very little water in there. So now I'm adding resin, clear resin, to the pigment paste that I mixed. And then I'm just mixing it all up together. The reason why you put it in the alcohol is to make sure that all the little particles of the pigment is dissolved, so you don't have any little specks in your painting. So here is the Caribbean Sea Resin Art. That's the one I mixed. It's beautiful, beautiful, deep blue-green. And this here is a gorgeous light blue by Loft. I used just a very, very little bit of the acrylic into the resin. It's actually the same color that is in the original part of the painting, so I think it's really going to help enhance that. And next I have this gorgeous, gorgeous deep blue. It's actually called Midnight Blue by Just Resin, and I barely dipped the end of my stick into the midnight blue, and it gave such a gorgeous, gorgeous color. And then of course the white. So I'm going to coat this with the clear resin first so that my colors will flow better and mix. Then I'm heating them up so that they blend. Just kind of mingling them all together. And now that first layer is cured, and I'm ready to add my elements. So let me apologize. I thought I was recording when I actually added the sand at the bottom, and I only found out later that I did not get that part of it. So all I did for that was I took vase filler that I got from Michael's, and I mixed it with Jerry's Artorama medium and varnish. Made me a sand paste, if you will, and then just spread it across the bottom there so that that looks like the bottom of the ocean. And then I added the seashells, and the way I did that was I turned the shells over, filled it with the sand mixture, and then pressed it into the sand that was already on the canvas. These little strips right here that I'm adding, I wanted to put some plant life there. And this is resin drippings from other projects. And I don't waste any of my resin. If I have resin left from projects, I will either pour it into a mold to make something, a silicone mold, or I will take a bottle and wrap it in plastic and then just pour it over the top of that bottle and let it run down and make drips, and to use for elements and other paintings. Even the resin that drips off of a canvas, I save that too, because you never know when you're going to need just a little drop of color somewhere. So that's what these are, and I'm using the Jerry's Artorama to place all my little pieces of resin onto the canvas. And these right here are the little drips like from the bottle that I was telling you about. And what I'm going to do is just trim them up, get them in the form that I like, and then arrange them onto the canvas, and use the Jerry's medium and varnish to adhere them to the canvas. I'm even going to use the medium and varnish on Herbert to attach him to the canvas. So just trimming these up and going to make them all pretty. So speeding this up, and what I want to do is make it look like Herbert is moving in and out of the plant life and just lazily swimming around and enjoying his day. So once I get it how I want it, some of these strips will be behind him, some of them will be in front of him, and I'm just making sure they're all stuck down to the canvas with the medium and varnish. I'm also adding some additional shells now that I know where all my plant life is going to be. And so this is ready now for another layer of resin. And I've taped off the tops and the sides to hold my resin onto the canvas. I don't want it to run off yet. And the sand itself will be a natural barrier for the bottom part of the painting. I'm also going to add some new colors. I want it to look like there's sunlight filtering down into the water. So I'm going to put first a clear coat of resin all around the design elements that I've laid down to make sure that they are coated and there's no air bubbles or anything that can get trapped anywhere, because this is raised up off the canvas, especially Herbert, because he's actually laying on top of some of these strips here. So I want to make sure that resin gets behind that. And I'm using my hand to smooth it around, and then just taking my torch and making sure there's no bubbles. Now I will start adding the colors, and I'm just using my stick to lay it down and put it where I want it to be. Once I get it all on the canvas, then I'll use my heat gun to just blend the colors. So the white's down, and now I am using the yellow, and I just use alcohol inks into my resin to make the yellow. I use the yellow and then the white alcohol inks because I just wanted a hint of the yellow. I didn't want it to be brilliant, bright, and I didn't have a really good colored yellow. That's why I used the alcohol inks. And now I'm just going to kind of blend them together. And let me give you a little tip about the heat gun. When you are using your heat gun for the first time, each time you do a resin painting, turn it away from your painting and let it run for a few seconds before you apply the heat gun to your painting, because it may have some dust in there and you don't want that in your resin. Learn that from Doris of DF Designs. I'm going to give her a shout out. If you have not checked her out, go check her out. I love Doris. She is a sweet lady. She's fearless, adventurous, and she would do all kinds of experiments, and you can learn so much from her. So now I'm just going to use my heat gun to make sure there's no bubbles in this layer. Going to add the resin to the sand, and this is just clear, and I'm just going to drizzle it on there with my stick, and the sand will kind of hold the resin there and not just run off the edge, as resin is prone to do if there's nothing to prevent it. I did have a few little drips or runoff, but it was so very little, so it acted as a natural barrier to keep the resin on the canvas surface. And now this layer is cured or dry enough. It's about 24 hours in between these layers, and I'm going to do a layer of just very, very lightly tinted, and this is the Midnight Blue, and I barely stuck my stick into the color, and this is 5 ounces of resin, and I want to give it a little bit of sparkle, so I'm going to use this Bling It Blue Sparkle, and you're going to be shocked at how little of this you actually have to use. Be very, very careful when you're taking the lid off, because it will kind of float up. That's it. That little bit on the tip of my popsicle stick is what I'm going to add. You can add as much as you like. The more you add, of course, the more shimmery, sparkly it is, and it it's gorgeous, but I didn't want it to take over the painting. Just want it to be a hint of the shimmer there. And this was more than enough for this resin. 5 ounces is what I used in there. And I'm just stirring it all the way down into the bottom. I want to make sure that all of the resin has the sparkle to it. So, I don't know, you could probably see it better in the cup than you can on the stick, but it is gorgeous. And of course I'll give you a close-up at the end so you'll be able to see that sparkle. But I'm just going to pour this over the entire canvas surface, and because I want to give it another layer of depth. And once I get it on there, I will just use my hand to make sure that everything is coated, because there are still parts of this that is above the surface of the layer of resin, and that's to be expected since I am using parts of design that's not painted into the resin itself. And I'm just moving this around, and you can see how it coats everything that's there, but it doesn't cover up any of the elements and designs beneath it. It enhances it. You can still see the sunlight filtering down. You can still see the plant life where Herbert is there. And it's almost giving a shadowy effect, which is just so cool. And even on Herbert, you can actually imagine him under the water, because just that hint of blue gives it that watery look. So I'm making sure that this is around each and every design element that's already down, right up against all of the sand there at the bottom. And the sand will also get a layer of this tinted blue. And if you have any questions about anything that I'm doing, I'm trying to explain it in the video, but it may be that you have a question that I didn't think to give you the information. Leave the question below. I'll be glad to answer you. If you have any comments or thoughts, share them. I love to hear what you think and how you feel about what I'm doing here. So, and every color, everything that I've used in this painting will be in the description below this video. So if I leave something verbally out of the video itself, it will be below in the description. And I think it's important for me to do this part of it and show you exactly what I'm doing. I know it makes the video long, but I'm just trying to make sure that I give you all the information and show you exactly how I did it, so that if you decide to make a Herbert, you'll have all the information available. So now we'll put some heat to this with the torch to make sure that there's no bubbles. And we're going to let Herbert set and cure a little bit before we add the next layer of resin. So now I have removed the tape and I sanded the edges down, because whenever you use a border to hold your resin onto a surface, you're going to have a little bit of a lip there. So I've sanded him down and I left just a tiny bit of an edge. It was smooth, but I wanted to make sure that most of the resin stayed on the canvas and not flow off. So just added it. A clear coat is all this is. So Herbert is all cured now. He's ready to grace any wall. And I just think he turned out great. You can see the little shimmer and sparkle of the Bling It blue that I added to the layer of resin. And the depth of the ocean, the deeper colors, the light from above, just all turned out really great. And I love him. So if you've enjoyed watching me create Herbert, click that like and share button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, let me invite you to do so now. And if you ring that bell, you'll get notified when I upload future creations that I make. Taking you in here close up for the bottom edge, where it shows you that the sand goes over the bottom edge and on each side there. This turned out to be a really fairly smooth surface with as many layers of details as I put on here. For the most part, the only thing that's really above the resin is the sand below. You can see there that it's all smooth, and because of so many layers, it added the depth and the shadows and all, just brought it all together really good. So I know this has been a long video, but all the details warranted that, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.